Thank you very much. You're very kind. You clapped before you even heard what I had to say, so thank you. President Chan, Principal Rambaran, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here to address Convocation today. This is a special moment for all of you, and so let me, on behalf of myself, the University of Toronto, extend to you, graduates of 2016, and your parents, our heartiest congratulations on your achievements today. I'm going to let you in on a couple of secrets, maybe three, before I finish in the time allocated to me. The first secret is that as Senior Academic Advisor to the Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Science, this is a new job. So I'm very much a neophyte in what I'm doing. I'm not a recruiter. I'm actually an active professor at the University of Toronto, but I have served students now for close to 26 years in that institution as a professor, as the principal of one of the oldest colleges at the University of Toronto. I've had associations with all three campuses, but when I entered this job, the first secret is that I was told one of our most important sources for some of the best and brightest students from across the planet comes from here in Hamilton at Columbia International College. And so, and being a rather curious academic, I said to myself, well, let's test this out. Let's see how it works. Let's take a look at the metrics. And indeed, at least in the Faculty of Arts and Science of the St. George campus of the University of Toronto, the international students who come here and come from here in terms of grades do every bit as well, and by senior years even better than the domestic students we have in the faculty. And they also have among the highest retention rates of all students at the University of Toronto. And so when I took this job, I knew that one, I would have to at some point meet with President Chan and discover the kind of magic that's going on here. So I'm very grateful that not only did I meet with President Chan, I was invited here to come to see for myself. And I'll tell you, seeing is believing. One of the reasons why job is new is that the University of Toronto has attracted a great number of international students over the last decade. As a university that consistently ranks within the top 20 universities in the world, depending on which ranking system you look at, we've attracted a lot of international students. In fact, over the last 8 years, our take in the Faculty of Arts and Science of international students has risen from 6% to 26% of the 29,000 students we have in the faculty. It's astounding. My job is not recruiting. My job is to make sure that when international students come to the University of Toronto, and specifically to my faculty, that they have all the rights and privileges and all the structures of support possible to sustain them through their various programs in the university. And it's only appropriate that we do that at U of T. We're a university that sits in the most international city in the world, in one of the most international countries. And I appreciate that as a historian of immigration and ethnicity and religion, because everyone who lives in Canada has ancestors or themselves has come from someplace else. We are a rather unique experiment on the face of the earth, where peoples come and don't surrender who they are, but join with others from various ethnic groups and religions and cultures and ways of thinking to try something different. We've called it the Canadian mosaic, and I think it's a mosaic for a very good reason. It's not a melting pot. So it was only appropriate that as a university in the most international country in the world, the University of Toronto at its three campuses begin to study what it meant to be an international school. Because Canada, my friends, really is a network of pathways Pathways of possibility. My own family came here from Germany, fleeing military oppression. They came from Ireland, fleeing famine 160 years ago. And they came from Scotland, looking for economic opportunity. I stand before you, another secret, as a hybrid of many peoples that came to this country looking for something different. There are 34 million different stories, very much like mine. When Vivian Poy left Hong Kong after the Second World War with her family, she had no idea that her pathway of possibility would end as being the Governor General of Canada. And when Miriam Massouf, 10 years ago, left Afghanistan as a refugee, she never anticipated in her wildest dreams that she would be, at the age of 31, a member of Canada's federal cabinet. Your pathway of possibilities is just beginning. Consider yourself now at a major crossroads. With many directions ahead of you and many pathways that will be exciting and challenging to you. So, my last confession to you is, as you can see by my beard and my hair, I am old. And so I'm going to use that flexibility at being one of our senior citizens in Canada to impart upon you a little bit of advice as you move forward on this pathway, gleaned from years of experience. Now, as an old person, I understand with you, I can't remember who spoke at my high school graduation, and let alone, I can't remember what they said to me. So you're excused in all of the excitement of the day if you don't remember. But I'd like to leave you with three things. Three things. Balance, service, and gratitude. Balance, service, and gratitude. When you go to university, you will encounter a great smorgasbord of many things. Already here at CIC, you have learned balance. Your ASAP principle here of academics, social, emotional, and physical well-being have prepared you well to be balanced when you go to whatever university you choose. I always say to students in my own class, seek that one thing that's different from study. As my youngest son once said to me when I became principal of St. Michael's College, he said, "Dad, all work and no play makes Mark a very dull boy." I guess he knew his father well. So what students come to me and say, I really have to study my maths, I have to study my sciences, I have to study my English and my history. And I said, yes, you do. But find that one thing, or maybe two, that will give you some balance. One student came to me and said, I don't know what to do other than my studies. I said, what do you like doing? And she said, I play the flute. And I play a lot of instruments. Well, interestingly, I've said, every university, and in U of T, we had something for her, a jazz band at Hart House. And when she graduated 4 years later, she said, thanks. That music kept everything else in balance. I went to the University of Ottawa as an undergrad, and one of my friends there was a very strong and driven individual who was in the sciences. But he kept his balance. He also had an interest in music. He didn't just want to play music, he actually took a course in music. Amidst all of those science courses, when you think that's all you can take, he actually took a course in music appreciation. And he played water polo. He kept that balance. Today, he's one of the leading epidemiologists at the University of British Columbia and a world leader in HIV/AIDS research. But Vancouverites probably know him better as one of the finest trumpet players in an R&B band that plays regularly in the city. Balance, keeping things in perspective, and knowing that your academic side should be balanced at all times with other things. So there's confession number 1. 2, service. It sounds corny, But there's a moment in the movie Spider-Man, as Cliff Robertson is dying, he passes on a piece of wisdom to Tobey Maguire, who will be Spider-Man. He says to him something that has not been unknown in thousands of years of human history, and that is, to everyone to which much is given, much will be expected. Keep that in mind as you embark on your university career. As you have been given so much here, and by this country, and by your own intellectual gifts, share those with others. And you will have an opportunity in university to do that. Some students at the U of T take time out of their studies to serve in local soup kitchens in the Out of the Cold program. Others engage in international activities to help those in developing countries develop purified water systems. At most universities, you will find a place where you can serve, a place where you can give back of your time and your talents. And those talents which have been so richly nurtured here at this institution. So service. And finally, gratitude. It's not one of those concepts that we think of readily, but it's something certainly of a person in my generation was drilled into us by our parents. Always be grateful. Always remember the route, that pathway that you took to come to be where you are. And think about those people who helped you. Thomas Merton once wrote, "No man, no woman is an island." We were all brought to this place with others in our entourage. And I say this particularly at graduation because there'll become a time today and maybe next week or maybe 5 years from now that there will be a special someone or some persons here. It may be a teacher, it may be a counselor, it may be a friend who made that difference in who you are, in what you chose to do, in the pathway that you began to follow. Thank them. It will mean the world. As a teacher, I know that at the end of the day, when I'm thanked out of the blue, it usually blows me away. I taught a particularly difficult course in history this year. I thought that I had been a complete failure. Students had sporadic attendance. The results weren't good. I thought that after 26 years teaching at the university and 29 at a variety of universities, I probably was too old to continue. And I received this little card on the last day of class from a student who had been ill part of the time. And I opened the card and she said, "Thank you, Professor McGowan. You're the reason why I got up for early Monday morning class." That meant a lot. Take the time to think about those who have been fellow travelers along your pathway. Remember them and thank them. You don't know the kind of good that you'll be doing in just that small, seemingly insignificant, but very significant gesture. So enough confessions. 3 things: balance, service, gratitude. Take those with you. I'd like to end my remarks to you this afternoon not with something that I've dreamed up, but we asked a number of students at the University of Toronto to tell us what their experience has been in the university. And I'd like to share with you briefly what a second-year student told us. And this is advice to you from someone who is just 2 years beyond where you are right now. She said this: "Begin university with an open mind. It will be a time of self-actualization. And slowly, you will start to become the person you always aspired to be." Congratulations to you today. Good fortune to you, and Godspeed.